And call us to order here. It looks like we've got a quorum, so do you mind go ahead and call and roll for us this morning?
I will.
Zachary Archer,
Here. Juanita's.
Michael Brown,
Here.
Okay, I will.
Peter Dillingham,
Here.
Randy Gilbert,
Here.
Shailene Hanning,
Here.
Edward Hillary,
Here.
Rob Seaman,
Here.
Kendra Wesson,
Here.
Superintendent Walters.
Here. Okay, was the board agenda posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Oklahoma flag salute.
I salute the flag of the state of Oklahoma. Its symbols of peace unite all people.
Now we'll do a moment of silence. Thank you. I am going to, we've got opening comments next. I know we've got a special guest here. I know the director has some comments as well, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to kick it off to them. So excited to be here today. Thank you everyone for being here at the last CareerTech board meeting of the year. So very excited. Got some good stuff on the agenda to get through, so I'm going to kick it over to the director.
Awesome, thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. First time in my history that all members of the board have been here.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so to get started,
Back to evaluation.
yeah. Wonder what brought them out, maybe my
I'd
eval.
like
So,
to just note that Randy and I got the memo.
yeah, you guys did great. So first off, I want to thank Angela for coming and helping us out. Ashley's out on maternity leave, so Angela's doing a lot of extra work right now, so thank you, Angela. Next off, I'd like to call Barkley to the podium. I wanted you guys to be able to meet Barkley Holt. He is responsible for Beaver County becoming a part of Oklahoma CareerTech system in the technology center world. So I wanted, you guys had asked, you know, how's that going? What's that working like? I wanted him to be able to kind of show you how it's working. It's unique that a whole county comes on. That doesn't happen often. May never happen again. We don't know, but very big precedent for the CareerTech system. So I wanted him to be able to meet all of you. You guys meet him, and so he can briefly talk about what's going on in Beaver County and High Plains Tech Center.
Guess that's on? Yeah. Y'all want to take one of those?
Thank you.
First off, thanks for having me, Dr. Haken. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks.
All the intros and, but no, when he asked me to come visit with you guys, and we've been talking about this ever since Beaver County joined, I told him, I said, well, what do you want? And he said, well, about 2.5 hours is our meeting time. And I said, well, I'll crunch my speech down a little bit then and make sure I hold enough time you on to executive session and get to the important stuff. So anyway, appreciate the opportunity. Just a little bit of background. I think it's kind of important to understand. There's 2 flyers there. One is about our TAP program, our middle school program, and then the other is kind of Beaver County, and then a synopsis on the back of how the timeline of how that all came together. The TAP deal, people ask how the Beaver County thing happened, and I'll preface it with, I'm a firm believer that our relationships in our communities, and I'm a student of CareerTech. I'm a son of a CareerTech instructor in the IC program. My father-in-law taught ag, and then I taught ag, and did that for about 10 years, and then went to work at Northwest Tech, did the ag business coordinator thing, and then Dwight Hughes hired me as assistant superintendent. I've been at High Plains for 14 years, and about those 4 years as superintendent. But about 7 or 8 years ago, we started what we called a TAP program, and a little background there, and everybody talks about wanting certifications and stuff for kids. Dwight wanted, when he hired me, he said, we got to get them certified, and my background had always been that, you know, if they don't know anything about a tool or red is positive, black's negative, it's hard to start certifying. It's very hard to get to there. And so we went kind of backwards, and we did this TAP program that is a middle school effort at getting our kids engaged, and then it brings them to our high school programs where they get a further, kind of get to pick their poison where they want to be, and then still yet, from that point, go on to the post-secondary. And our post-secondary programs have hence been more successful because we're able to get them started through as 6th, 7th, 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders. They get to kind of career exploration every day. Then they come into full-time programs, get to kind of point it where they want to be. And then after that, it's just a little known fact that's out there. For the last 3 years, our LPN program has been 100% on NCLEX pass rate. And it's been because we've built them. They come through, they understand the anatomy and stuff. They understand where they want to be. A diesel kid now might choose that he wants to go to John Deere specifically instead of just diesel in general. And so it's been very successful for us. And I say all that to lead to, and those stats are there, and the things that are obvious are that our kids are not as big a discipline problems. They're engaged. We've got parent involvement more, things that have gone away because we lost funding for shop activities and things that I saw happen during my tenure growing up. Those things gone away, and we've just kind of stepped in, and our schools partner with that. We host that TAP program at Woodward schools. And then the reason I'm telling you all that is because when Beaver County came across, and on that timeline, you could see that Representative Paskowski, who had been at our place several times, came in and wanted to talk about, I mean, at one point, and this was probably April of before we did that, before that thing started being talked about in summer of 23, he came in one day and he looked at me and he said, "So the high school kids go to the tech center?" Because there's no, and I said, "Yeah, high school kids go to the tech center." And he said, "And you do middle school kids too?" And I said, "Well, that's the deal." And I took Kenton down there and we looked through that, and it started clicking to him. Well, that was just a discussion. It was just relationship discussion. Fast forward to that summer, I get a phone call from Director Haken, and he says, "Hey," and I think you'd been on board, about 4 months that time? Was that in? Yeah. And he said, "Hey, I got a phone call. I'm going to Beaver County. Do you want to go?" And I said, "No, I don't need to go. You go. They invited you. You talk, and then if they need me after that, I'll go. I'll be happy to." So we went out there and we started talking, and when those communities come across, I said, you need buy-in from the community. So the easiest way to do that is take, just like this board here, I said, if we can get a proclamation from the boards, the way I see it, then we've got 5 people in each town. There's 4 towns represented in Beaver County. There was no way that you could go stand a tech center up. The tax base, you guys are well aware of how that works, but we're 10 and 2 mills. We're not 10 and 5. We're 10 on general and 2 is what High Plains has always been, 10 general and 2 building. So there was no way, there's not enough revenue in that to go stand up a tech center alone. So when they started talking about that, I said, well, maybe we could use some existing space, because you can't travel kids an hour and a half. That's not going to work. You can't put the business and industry stuff there. You can be mobile to it, but you can't stand it up. It's just not physically the most responsible thing to do. So we went in and we utilized space in those schools, and this is what we told them. We said, hey, if you vote this in, we will stand TAP programs up at every school. And we did that vote. You can look at that timeline. There's a lot of stuff in there that matters, doesn't matter, whatever. But when that vote happened in January, by August, we had kids in TAP. So we've got a TAP program at Ford. We hired 4 instructors. We hired a director out there. She had been at Gordon Cooper, had worked in their integrated programs. Thank God she had a son that had married a girl from Beaver, and there's grandkids out there. It was a great draw, lucky for us. So she's our director, Donna Nickel, and then we stood those 4 programs up. Day 1, August, when I told the people when we were doing these town meetings and stuff, and there was very little negative, but everybody asked, how are we going to talk to that negative? How are we going to talk to, you're going to tax you to bring this to you? The thing that we talked about there And what I always said is I'm not talking to the negative. I'm not going to try to change a nay to a yay. I'm going to tell you why, what we can bring, what we're going to do. I'm also going to tell you we're not a silver bullet. I mean, there were several times in those meetings I said, if you're looking for a silver bullet to fix all the workforce problems and all the social ills that bring our kids to us in a bad place, we're not it. I'm not going to stand up and tell you we are. I'm going to tell you we're a piece of the puzzle, and we're going to work hard to fix that. Well, August 1, we had 300 kids in the TAP program in Beaver County, and still have 300 kids in 4 schools. Just yesterday, we started our hiring process. We're going to stand up a health program, because within that health program, the way ours runs, because we're very rural, because we don't have a lot, I can't afford 19 teachers. Our teachers will have 19 majors. So our health program will have everything from phlebotomy to vet tech to everything embedded in there. One teacher's teaching all of that. So we hired a health instructor, felt like that was something that we need to put there. We're also going to do a construction welding program. It's not going to be construction. It's not just going to be welding. It's going to be a smattering of both. And if Brent needs to shut his ears about that, or if Corey does, then they can. But we're going to do that because in that venue out there, it's what will work. And it's what will, the kids can take that, and then hopefully we can build those out to a construction and a welding once enrollment's there and we know we're good. So that's where we're headed. Actually hired that health instructor yesterday afternoon. We started interviews for that. We'll probably have that welding construction hired by the end of the week. We will stand those up in July, and we're doing remodels out there. A few things to note, guys. I thank you guys for supporting Director Haken, because I've been in this almost 30 years now, and being able to have the ability to think out of the box and the support to understand that as important as it is that we get people certified, it is important that we get them started as a 6th grader, and don't let the bureaucracy stand in the way of that, which I have seen happen a lot in my tenure. And it's just refreshing. I can tell you it's very refreshing from the side of my standpoint, and I know that it doesn't matter if you're an ag teacher or teaching at a skill center or you're teaching at a CareerTech or administrating at a CareerTech, it just makes our job a lot easier. And I really believe that's why Beaver County happened. I really believe we've had 2 or 3 schools. I've actually had some board meetings, been at board meetings, other schools looking to join. Our model is working in our area. I mean, my crew, I say this, I can't brag on my bunch enough. We lead the state in saturation rate, which is available juniors and seniors that come to our school. We get about, I mean, I still don't have those numbers this year, but we're going to be in the 50% range, I'm guessing. There's about 1,000 TAP kids, middle school kids that go through our programs each year that get to participate in that. And then our post-secondary programs, we're trying to build them back to Mr. Hughes' comment about I want them certified. I don't just want them certified, I want them successfully certified. And there's a huge difference in that. And the rigor has to be in place to make that happen. So I'd entertain any questions you got. That's shorter than 2.5 hours, but the other information on there, you guys feel free to take with you and do with it as you want. Yeah, Randy.
Randy, you might turn your mic on, sorry.
I could hear him.
Yeah. I know the discussion about Beaver County and the white spots has been going on for a long time. So I know we as a board, we certainly appreciate all you and your team have done to help make that happen, because that's a huge step in the right direction for CareerTech and for workforce. And so thank you for what you and your bunch are doing, and your TAP program far exceeds the story you're telling today, because your TAP program's been working for years. I mean, it was a new deal. It works great. So I know the bunch at Gordon Cooper, they're not very happy you took one of theirs, but, I mean, they've asked questions about that for years, so, I mean, it's very successful.
And I would go back to, thank you, Randy, I'd go back to the TAP deal, and it started when I went to State Department, and some people in this room might remember that meeting. But they really and truly at that juncture wanted to know, the hang-up was, where are we gonna put it? And I said, I really don't give a flip where you put it. I mean, count it where you want to count it. I don't care. It's what we're going to do at High Plains. And that was a big shift. It was a big shift from our department to allow that to happen. And we really, you know, there wasn't a rule against it, so I was going to do it. I mean, I always kind of roll like this. If it's a rule or a law, I love orange, but don't really want to be in pinstripes and behind the jail cell. So law might get you there, rules probably not. So anyway, I appreciate you guys supporting that, because that has been a
Ms.
shift
Goss
I've
has
seen.
been wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole TAP program's phenomenal.
It was, and I tell you this much, it was a school deal too. Those schools that stepped in, Woodward Schools allows us to use space. Simple hang-ups that were going to happen that people wanted to talk about was, well, how are we going to get the kids there? We use the same bus. And that's a huge deal for community relationships, because those buses now that leave Vici have 40 kids on them instead of 10. So the perception from that community is that bus is not wasting gas. And that was probably the single biggest thing that happened at our place. It looks like a clown bus now when they pull in, instead of, and it's 2 miles away to the middle school and then up there, so you can make those things happen. And it's just, it's my team that stepped in and made that happen. We've been very blessed to be able to hire people that can run those things, so.
I was just going to simply thank you for your leadership. It's such a great example of when a square peg doesn't fit in a round hole, and you look for constructive alternatives. And it's fun as an agency to be flexible enough to do these kind of things. And just great job.
Thank you.
Barkley, thank you for being here. I wanted the board to get an update on kind of where we were and how things work, so I appreciate you coming all the way from Woodward to make this happen.
Oh, it's great. There was cows out last night, Brent, and it was easy to get to Oklahoma City. You know how it always is. So,
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A couple other things I would mention real quick that go along with my comments, and I apologize, it's longer than normal. There's a few things that I wanted to make sure and get in front of you. The funding formula, I had mentioned before that I'm digging into that as the agency. The superintendents are helping me dig into that as well. So up on the screens, there's some quick notes on you or for you on where we are. We're not in a place where we are going to move forward with a vote or an action item, but I hope by February we are. So that's what that kind of goes to. The funding formula for technology centers on full-time programs is what we're talking about, not the WED side or the short term, but the full-time. It has not been updated in decades, and actually has been, in my opinion, not used correctly for the last probably decade and a half, because it's been frozen in time from a cut that happened a long time ago. And so we need to, as a body, to act on that, but I don't want to just act in haste. I want to do due diligence to make sure that we are funding the schools that need to be funded best that we can. So we're going through a lot of effort right now with committees from the superintendents at tech centers and people internally at the agency to study what can we do and how can we make sure that it's equitable. It's not going to be fair. Fair is not a real thing, I don't believe. So it's going to be equitable, though, that the schools that need the most funding because they don't have local will receive. So we're working on that. Bring that for you soon. So Brent Meeks, the auditing position that you guys have approved, has been very instrumental in going through our data and making sure that we can really figure out what's going on. The other thing that aligns with that's on the page and up on the screen now is the FBA, Flex Benefit Allowance. By statute, that is recorded in February each year, and that's how we start the year to our technology centers on their funding for those employees. I don't like that. I actually think the State Department of Ed does a better job of making sure that we, in October, get another count that would allow us to adjust. It's not in statute written that way, so I'm going to work with the legislature that we would have that flexibility, because what happens is you start off a year-ending number, so you don't encourage a school to grow or add people. to serve more students because they're not going to receive the FBA for them, so they'll be out those dollars. To give you an example, once we started auditing, we have a school that's out about $50,000 because they added staff to meet a student need, and they're not going to get the FBA until the next year. So I want to be able to adjust more rapidly, so we're going to be digging into that as well. So there are some things by statute that we must, as a board, include in those formulas, so I wanted you to have those in front of you. That will all be included into the formula suggestion that I would bring forward to you. Hopefully, like I said, we're going to meet in January with superintendents again, and then February for you guys. We don't have to take action at that time, but that would be the earliest, because that funding mechanism would not start until July. So we have some time to dig into that. But that's really kind of what we're doing right now on that. I would also mention that I recently, this week, and Barclay had a big hand in setting this up, we toured Wichita State University's tech program, which is one of the largest schools in the nation for like a technology center like us. They only have 7 in the state of Kansas, so they pull a large area, and they do some things really unique that we can learn from. So that was a great tour. We'll be bringing some ideas forward for our schools. And then we are also presenting on the return on investment that we've see, and I think you may have a sheet in front of you that shows kind of the one-pager of what the return on investment looks like for CareerTech. So things are going well, a lot of work, and we're ready for Christmas break. Right.
Fantastic stuff there. Awesome. Let's take a look. Next item is discussion and possible action on the minutes of the October 17th regular board meeting. So any discussion or possible motions?
Move for approval?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do you mind calling roll for us?
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Ms. Hanning?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert? Yes. Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Archer?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Motion passes. The next item is a presentation of the FFA convention highlights.
Now, Scott, if you'll come forward. Mr. Nemechek is the program manager for agricultural education, state FFA advisor, and he's brought some guests with him as well, so I'll turn it over to Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's I appreciate you guys having us this morning and an opportunity to brag on our students. And I'll have a few comments, and then I'll let you guys hear from who you really want to hear from in our students, and I'll let them demonstrate their skills and what they've been through and gone through. Just a kind of a brief. Some of you maybe are new to the board since I've been here, and just to where we're at in agricultural education, we have 507 programs or teachers in 369 K-12 districts across the state. Over 29,000 students enrolled in there. And we operate on what's called a 3-circle model of agricultural education. So that's the classroom. So each one of our students has a class every day, or more than one class potentially, and then also has what's called a supervised agricultural experience, which in the CareerTech world would be similar to work-based learning or experiential learning, and then also the FFA, the CTSO component of that, to allow those students to develop those skills further in competitions or in leadership events and activities. So that is that. Do you have the clicker, Mr. Haken?
Yes, I do. Sorry. Told you I'd give it to you and then I lied.
So just real briefly, our staff. I'm the program manager and the state FFA advisor. Rose Bonjour is our Central Area Program Specialist. David Turner is a new employee this year for the Northeast area, and I'll explain a little bit more about that on the next slide. Alan Miller, the Northwest area. Clark Long, Southeast area. Kurt Murray, Southwest area specialist. Trevor Lucas is our FFA executive secretary. He takes care of our event planning as well as our state FFA officer team. Hannah Brown is the new and early career teacher program specialist. That is a new position. She previously was the Northeast area specialist and moved into that position, which is how David was hired. That is a new position last year because of our increased number of programs. Director Haken scattered some of those positions throughout the agency, and we're very appreciative of that to be able to serve our teachers better. Laura Howard, our Ag Ed administrative assistant, and then Kathy Short, who holds everything together for the FFA program. So, with our national convention highlights, that's our annual event, and we have a tradition of excellence there, and our expectation is that we do well every year. This was a really typical or maybe an extra typical year in terms of what we did. You have a handout in front of you that gives a little more detail on what I'll speak about, but if you feel free to go through that. But that's a highlight of all those participants there. But the overall arching area, 8 national champions in various areas, and we'll hear from a couple of those here in a minute. 16 gold emblem teams and individuals, so those teams and individuals in what we call leadership development events as well as career development events, and you'll see those here in a little bit. 16 gold emblems, so that's a gold emblem ranking. They rank gold, silver, and bronze on those participants. 30 national 3-star recipients, and that's to recognize chapters for their activities and a program of activities in 3 different areas in their community, in agriculture, and then in leadership for students. We also had 198 American FFA degree recipients, and that is based on a student's SAE. Most of those, well, all of those students are either in the workforce or in college, attending college, and they've continued their SAE in that area to be able to achieve that. And then 6 honorary American FFA degrees, of which one of those is our director, Mr. Hagan. We're very happy to have him there for a brief moment at convention, and just very appreciative of his work throughout his career in support of not just ag education, but career tech in general. So just our national winners, will highlight those a little bit. An agri-science fair, we had 2. We had high hopes. So we had, I think, 29 national finalists. There's 10 national finalists in each area. We had lots of seconds, thirds, and fourths. But these 2 groups were the winners. The Agri-Science Fair in Oklahoma has grown dramatically. Clark Long, who's our Southeast Programs Area Specialist, is one in charge of that, and he runs that event each year, and it has certainly grown in the time. It's a relatively new contest for us, probably the last 10 to 12 years, but very, very much an area of growth. So Oakley Gross and Presley Watley Kent Stillwater won Division 6 in food products and processing, and these are where they do research on a particular project through the scientific method to get their findings, and then they prepare a presentation for judges as well as the application that goes in and their abstract of their research. Trinity Blosh and Aubrey McIndoe, I think, are 3-time national champions, either individually or as a team, in Division 6 Environmental Services and Natural Resources. Aubrey is also one of our State FFA officers. They would have been here today, but they, since they had finals last week, that whole team is on a ski trip. So they're enjoying probably colder but more pleasant weather than what we have. So those are the Agri-Science Fair winners. There were many more than that that were high placers, but those are the winners. Proficiency award areas, and we'll slow down on this in a moment and let Addison speak, but we had 5 National FFA Proficiency Award winners, and these are based on students' SAEs, and there's 45 different areas at this time. Those are going to expand in the near future to more areas. Titus Montgomery, who's also one of our State FFA officers, was the Agricultural Communications, and it's interesting that I have a typo on Agricultural Communications. That's probably ironic, but Titus Montgomery from Red Oak in the area of agricultural communications. His project, he actually was, he spoke to our foundation board a month ago, and his project is very interesting. He actually started a radio show, a weekly radio show and podcast, and very involved in agricultural with the local radio station, brought guests in the agricultural industry. Trinity Blosh, Stillwater FFA, agri-science research, integrated systems, so that is a proficiency area that would tie in all of her different research projects into one application. Ethan Stone from Chandler in fruit and nut production, they have a pecan orchard there, and that family has been very successful through that. And then Hydro Eakley, we had a sponsorship last year at our state convention in honor of Dale Glazier, who's a former ag teacher who was very strong with proficiency awards and believed in what that did for students. He passed away, and his family and others, friends of that family, established a trust to where there would be a sweepstakes award for chapters in their applications for those proficiencies. And so Hydro was far and away the winner of that. I think they had 17, is that correct, winners at the state convention last year, and 5 or 7 national finalists as well. And then these 2 were the winners. So those proficiency award areas, Ryder Clausen, his father is ag teacher there, Chris, and I'll let him speak in just a moment. Tell you a little bit more about what proficiencies mean to our programs and our students. And then Addison Schneeberger is also here, and she was the national proficiency winner in goat production. And so at this time, I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about the proficiency awards in her particular area, her project, and what that means to her.
Good morning. I'm Addison Schneeberger. I'm a senior at Hydro Wiggly, and Mr. Clausen's my ag teacher. So proficiencies in FFA is a very big deal from Hydro and at Hydro, and so being able to win last year at the state convention and then go on and earn an interview spot to compete at national convention was awesome. But a little bit about me: I show goats, my family raises goats, and I also enjoy livestock judging and giving speeches. But my goat proficiency started when I was in 8th grade because of showing and my family raising livestock. And so goat production was no doubt definitely what I was going to shoot for and hopefully win. So my operation consists of 12 to 15 donor females and then roughly 50-ish Spanish recips. And so my dad and I really focused on utilizing AI, in vitro fertilization, really trying to get like the newest and most updated ways to get the does bred, because I have a small operation when compared to some. But I live in Carnegie, so that's where my farm is, and we raise goats to sell to 4-H and FFA members. I guess that's really all I have to say about the goat production side itself. But what I've learned through FFA and raising and showing livestock is it's a lot of work, and you have to have a very a big team behind you to support you, and Mr. Clausen does a great job of getting us prepared on the state level, but also getting us ready for nationals, because there was 8 of us, and I think we had interviews for 2 or 3 days straight. It was back to back, and it was a lot of work and a lot of preparation, but I really do appreciate everything that the FFA has done for me. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them the best I can.
This may be crazy, but so you sell goats to other FFA folks to raise and show, right?
Yes, sir.
How much does a goat cost? Can you say?
Information.
That's a trick question.
Is it?
I'm assuming.
I don't
Are
need
you
to be-
buying?
I'm
Because
just-
it's probably different
I'm
if
just
you're the
wondering,
one
because
buying.
I got 160 acres I need to get grazed. I need to eat some stuff.
Well, those,
Not with these goats.
Yeah.
you might want to, if you're wanting for grazing goats, you might want to stop by the sale barn. Because for the goats that we're raising, we really want to promote 4-H and FFA members, hopefully for them to be successful at their state or national show. So honestly, I'll be completely honest with you, a goat can cost anywhere from $450 to $20,000.
Wow.
But it's really just engaging with that 4-H member, that FFA member, seeing what their goals are, and honestly what their budget is. And I raise a lot of goats, and I show a lot of the ones I've raised, but some of the ones that I have won with, I've won the Oklahoma Youth Expo and the Tulsa State Fair Livestock Show. We've bought those goats from a family or from an operation in Mulhall, the Pfeiffer Farms, and different people from Texas. So lots of people show, lots of people raise goats. It's all about marketing and just trying to figure out what that individual wants or needs.
Can you give us a very high level, because this is going to be a gigantic question, on the AI usage with the in vitro? Just a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. So I have 12 to 15 donor females. So these are like the higher up, the good structure, they have lots of muscle. Like these are the best of the best for my operation. And so we want to get the most out of them. So we'll pick the best semen. We use a guy in Texas, Kate Halfman. So we buy that semen, and then we use a firm in Stillwater where the embryos are fertilized and then they are put into the recips. So these are the does that are mainly just to kid out the kids, and then they're put back right into production.
The donors don't carry.
No, ma'am.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting.
Hopefully I explained that well enough to you.
Yes.
How do they ship it? From Stillwater to somewhere, right? Or
The
or
semen?
do you take the animals there?
We take the donors to Stillwater to get them IVF, but they actually ship the semen in a semen tank, so it's all liquid nitrogen. Yeah.
Like Wagyu steak, I guess.
Can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously you're a national champion, so congratulations for that. Can you tell us a little bit about what it takes to get to the national level? You know, I mean, you win your state contest and then kind of how that is and about how many contestants would be at the national level and kind of how, because that's huge to be at the national level and to be a national champion.
Yes, sir. So I guess I can go back a couple of years ago when I won the state ag ed proficiency. So that's when I taught agricultural-based lessons to elementary students. So I won at the state level like I won with my goat production proficiency, and they send them all on to be competed with at not every state will send some in, but there'll be a lot. So there's different levels, like a silver and a gold. So I was a gold.
Roughly 40 sent in probably.
Yes, sir. So I was a gold finalist with my ag ed proficiency, and so I did not receive a interview spot. To receive an interview spot, you are the top 4 in that specific division. And so I was fortunate enough, my goat proficiency, to earn an interview spot. I competed with one of my best friends from Ohio. Her family raises goats, and then a girl from Missouri and Texas. And all of these other girls were actually in college. So they were freshmen in college, and I was the senior in high school, so I didn't even think I had a shot. But we do an interview, and then you're called up on stage like they do at state convention, and I had no idea how I was going to do, and I don't even think Mr. Clausen knew how I was going to do. But they only give out one winner. They don't do fourth, third, second, and then your winner. They just call out one. So it was a lot of hard work and a lot of preparation, lots of times meeting with other people, just getting different questions from people that have a very strong ag background or people that may just work in a big corporation that has to do with agriculture, but they're not on the farm from day to day. So there's a lot that goes into becoming a national champion, I would say.
And I believe, if I'm correct, the stage you were called upon was at Lucas Oil Stadium, I believe, is that?
Yes, sir, in Indianapolis.
Yeah. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Addison, and she's just an example of a lot of different students, and many of those students are very successful and for one major reason, and that's that local ag teacher. And at this time, Chris Clausen, who's Addison's ag teacher at Hydro Eakley, does a great job with proficiencies in many other areas as well, just an all-around good ag teacher, but proficiencies are kind of what he's known for, his specialty, or one of the things he's known for. So I just invited him to tell you a little bit from a teacher's perspective what this does for students and what it means for us for their development.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nemechek, and thanks to the board for having us here today. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, as he said, Chris Clausen, I'm an ag teacher at Hydro Eakley, and I've been in education now for 30 years. And I'm actually, I was given the opportunity to come back to my own hometown to where I got to finish out my career. The advantage to that for me is I grew up in a community that had a very diverse agriculture background, not only in crop production, specialty crops, traditional crops, but also livestock. And that helped me, I guess, as a teacher to help develop these kids and with regards to their SAE program. And so to give you a little background on the proficiency program, it's a SAE program where the kids are asked to develop good record-keeping procedures with their SAE, to show growth in their program, and then also to develop their ability, just like you saw with Addison, to stand in front of a group of peers and answer questions about it and defend what they've developed through the years. And so it's been really, really good. Addison's one of the great kids that we've had through the years. She was a national champion this year. As you can see, Ryder was another one, and Ryder couldn't be here today. He's a member of the Redlands Livestock Judging Team, and they're working out, getting ready for the Cattlemen's Congress in Denver. And so just a few comments about his program. Ryder developed an SAE in specialty crop production, where he grows not only traditional crops, wheat, corn, alfalfa, soybeans, that sort of thing, but he also grows Black Eyed Peas for the Del Monte Corporation. And he developed that contract with Del Monte when he was 16 years old, which I was very proud of for him. He moved on from that and developed a proficiency in the area with growing mung beans for the Huron Corporation in Busan, South Korea. And so he has developed a number of different contracts, relationships with people not only domestically, but also abroad. And he has had to deal with some real life situations like, the tax that President Trump put on and how that affected our imports and exports. And so there's a number of different things these kids can learn. My favorite thing about this program is that the developmental skills that it gives these kids from the standpoint of not only making an economic impact in your community, but also developing record-keeping skills, public speaking skills. It's really a really great program. And, I applaud Director Haken for having such a strong FFA program within CareerTech, Mr. Nemechek for his leadership. We've got a great program in Oklahoma. I know at the national level, when Oklahoma kids show up, Oklahoma kids usually are successful, and that speaks loudly to what we have going on here. So that's a little bit about our program. Is there any questions I can answer for any of you? All right.
Thanks for being here.
Very good job. Thank you for what you did.
Thank you, Mr. Clausen, and he is just an example of many of the great ag teachers we have across the state who are the success of our programs rests in their hands, and we are just here to kind of help provide a resource for them. At this time, our 11th National FFA Prepared Public Speaking winner. We've had winners in extemporaneous and creed speaking as well. In fact, Addison competed at the national level in creed speaking a few years back, I think. And this year, there's 3 different public speaking national contests prepared. It's kind of the granddaddy of all of them. But then also extemporaneous and creed speaking, and both of our other speakers in creed and extemporaneous were also national finalists in the Final 4. But Coy brought home the big hardware, and very exciting. I will introduce, before Coy comes up, his ag teacher, Travis Bradshaw, who is, I'm sure Coy will talk about that a little bit more, but I don't know of anybody that traveled more miles between May and November to prepare for this contest and to gain lots of context, lots of networks. I'm sure Coy will tell you a little bit about that. But Coy Davidson from Elgin.
Well, good morning, everyone. Like Mr. Nemechek said, my name is Coy Davidson. I'm currently a senior at Elgin High School down in southwest Oklahoma. And first off, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here today and to speak on this accomplishment. So, like Mr. Nemechek said, I was honored to win the National Prepared Public Speaking Contest just this October. And a little background before I get into the actual speaking part and how I got there and the process that I went through to get there. I'll go on a little background about me. So I grew up in Moore, Oklahoma, just outside of Oklahoma City, until I moved to Elgin in the 5th grade. And I wasn't involved. I didn't know a ton about FFA, didn't even know really what it was until I moved to Elgin and joined the Elgin FFA chapter in the 8th grade. I gave my very first speech for an AFR speech competition, and as soon as I gave my first speech, I knew I was hooked. I couldn't wait for the day to join my first ag class, and I think since I joined my first ag class in the 8th grade at Elgin, I don't think I've missed more school ever in my life. So we're constantly traveling all across the state, across the country, competing in different events, going to leadership conferences, and it's just been an amazing experience, and I don't think I would be the person I am today without that background. So I gave my first speech, like I mentioned, in the 6th grade, and so every year I tried to give one more speech. I try to give a different speech, all for the ultimate goal of being where I am today, and never would I have thought it would be to this level. My first goal was just to win the state FFA speech competition. So this past year, the state speech competition is in April, or is in beginning of May. But to get there, there are 6 divisions in Oklahoma FFA for prepared public speaking, and my speech was in the agri-science division. So I chose the topic of cybersecurity and espionage dealing with agriculture. So when we talk about picking a speech topic, and this is something that we've dealt with all the way since 8th grade year when we started giving FFA speeches, is you want to have a speech that's new. You want to bring something to the judges that they haven't heard a whole bunch of times, and something that's a big topic that needs to be talked about. So every year when we pick a new topic for the next spring, that's what we look forward to. And so I actually have an SAE, like we saw just earlier. My SAE is in agricultural mechanics, design, and fabrication, where I actually make duck and goose calls for outdoorsmen all across the United States. And it wasn't because of the SAE that I gave my speech about this topic. So with this SAE, I actually used apps such as Cash App and Instagram to make transactions with these hunters from all across the U.S. And actually just last year I had my bank account hacked into because of sharing information through these apps. And never would I have thought I would ever give a speech about something like this until I realized the importance of this. So after this happened, I really dug into the cybersecurity and how do you protect yourself. Well, then I realized the big issue, how it affects agriculture. And I thought this is something that has to be talked about. And so, we did so much research just before the state competition to get there. And we researched about cybersecurity and espionage dealing with agriculture and the importance of it and why it should be talked about. So fast track to May, I win the state FFA speech competition in the agri-science division, and then at state convention, then the big 6. So the winners of each 6 categories get together and have a speak off, so then we can send our number 1, the first speaker to nationals to represent Oklahoma. So I was fortunate enough to win that at state convention. And from May to October, it was just a fast track trying to get to where I am. And this was probably one of my favorite memories ever, was the experience getting to the National FFA Convention. So during the summer, I know we were busy. We were constantly traveling through all these FFA events and camps and conferences. But I think I went to the Ag Building a couple times each month, finalizing that speech before it came school time. And then as soon as August hit, we were on the road asking questions, giving my speech to as many people as we can till we got to the national contest. I remember talking to Mr. Bradshaw as school was about to start and setting some goals of what I wanted to do. And I remember I talked to him one day. I was like, this could be a crazy goal, but I want to give my speech to at least 100 different people before we get to convention. And I think looking back on it, as we got to Indianapolis there to give my speech, we hit that goal. And so that was super neat to be able to talk to that many people and to make that many connections that I never thought I would ever do. So in the first week of August, we traveled to Omaha, Nebraska to an FBI conference. This was a crazy experience, to say the least. We saw this online and we were like, yeah, this could talk about the speech. And so we went there, and the amount of information I learned from this conference was just crazy. And it was really neat to see these FBI agents, these presidents of like Bayer Agri-Science speak about these issues that I talk about in my speech, and realize that it is an issue that everyone talks about. I think there was just over 400 attendees at that conference in Omaha, so that was very neat. From there, we traveled all across Oklahoma, going to different organizations, talking to different people, speaking with Secretary Arthur and her staff there at the Department of Agriculture. And then actually, I think it was late September, we traveled to Indianapolis before we went to national convention to the National Association of State Department of Agriculture annual meeting. So it is the state secretary of ags for every state in the U.S., and there's actually 18 different foreign country representatives there. So this was an experience I'll never forget either. Just the amount of people I met preparing for this speech and the amount of people I was able to give the speech to and just have a conversation with them, whether it's sitting down at a table or eating lunch with these representatives from foreign countries about this little speech. And so it's something that I'll never forget and an experience that that I'll take for the rest of my life. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Coy, I just want to say congratulations again, but I also want to point out, just how hard you worked. I mean, I know you and your family, and you were always going somewhere. I know, Hayden talked about you were just traveling all the time. So, I appreciate the hard work you put into that.
Thank you.
And was that for research that you were traveling? So you would go to like this FBI conference?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what?
Absolutely. So when you write a speech, there's a lot of research that goes in before you even write the speech. And so I'm constantly reading everything I can, all the different news articles, all these sources to figure out the speech that I'm actually going to write. But then once I write that, so you give a 6 to 8 minute speech at these competitions, but then they have 5 minutes of questions. So they ask you questions for 5 minutes. And so that's what a lot of the research is, and that's where we went to a lot of places, is to get the information for questions. So I have my speech already done, but now I have all these people that I talk to. So if I get a question, now I know the answer, and that's what we use that for.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
Possibly when you get to the national level, certainly at the state level, you have quality judges as well, but when you get to the national level, some of your judges may be the president of Bayer Agri-Science. So when they ask questions,
They're hard.
They are hard. And it's all related to the speech, I believe, Corey.
Yes, sir.
It's all related to the speech, so you don't know what those questions are going to be. So we're very proud of you for the state of Oklahoma for what you do and what you have done.
Yes,
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
And
Coy.
your ag teachers as well.
Yes.
You have a great team of ag teachers, so.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Coy. We are very proud of him as well as all the other winners from convention, and we thanks to the board for your support of our division. And we're kind of historically are the base and the foundation of CareerTech, and we're very proud of that tradition and working very hard to maintain that and build upon it. So thank you for your efforts. And Director, thanks for having us today.
Thank you so much, Scott. Any questions for Scott?
Yeah.
From the board? One little piece that you guys probably don't know of, we added Hannah last year to the team, but collectively as an agency, we're starting to work back on curriculum a little bit again. And so one of the first initiatives or plans is to work on ag ed curriculum so that we have an opportunity to set the state standard once again, where we've been a little bit behind on that from the agency. So Scott and others were a part of hiring, and we will be moving forward on that this summer, where we can once again lead the nation in ag curriculum. So excited about that.
Is there, Mr. Nemechek, I believe you mentioned earlier about in the public speaking area, there are 3 different platforms. And,
Yes.
And I would imagine it's very rare for a state to have 3 finalists in those areas.
Yeah, we have had that several times. I don't know about all 3. But definitely 2 of the 3 is a fairly regular occurrence, and so we're very proud of that tradition. And as the old saying goes, and Mr. Clausen alluded to that, when Oklahoma shows up, they know we're there. So we're very proud of that, and not just the tradition we have, but the new things that are coming along and establishing those new traditions and standards of excellence. That's our expectation.
And I believe, I don't know if this is correct, but I believe Mr. Clausen Hydro-Eakley could have had as many national finalists as some states.
Oh, absolutely. It probably did have more. There's no exact count on those, but absolutely, yeah.
And the same with Stillwater on the agri-science, I believe. They had more finalists than some states.
Yes.
So that goes to the high quality of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr.
Absolutely.
Aiken.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the presentation of United Way fundraising activities and possible discussion with Mr. Russell Ray.
Well, good morning, everyone, and Merry Christmas to you. This is my favorite time of year. We are in the middle of the season of giving, and at Oklahoma CareerTech, we give back all year round in a variety of ways. One of the main ways is our annual United Way campaign. We've been performing an annual United Way campaign for the last 40 years at CareerTech. It's a big part of our culture. It's very important to our staff. Money is important, but we also use it to have a lot of fun. The campaign supports the United Way of Payne County. The United Way of Payne County supports 24 nonprofit partnership agencies with about 55 community programs. And the issues of hunger, poverty, and abuse in Payne County are very, very real. In Payne County, about 20% of residents live below the poverty line. More than 13,000 live with abuse. And Payne County has the 10th highest confirmed reports of abuse. So the issues are very real, something that we take very seriously. We try to have fun with it as well. In September of every year, we recruit a volunteer committee of United Way committee members who volunteer their time to put together these events. A lot of these events are very traditional. A lot of them are outside the box. We hold a chili dessert cook-off every year, a live auction, silent auction, scavenger hunt, singo. We try to do something really fun every year with senior leaders. Last year we had the ice bucket challenge where our chief of staff got dunked with a bucket of ice. This year we had a pie in the face event, which was very popular. We drew about 5 or 6 people from a bucket, and they got to choose which senior leader they could pie. Brent got pied, I got pied, Justin, our chief of staff, got pied not once, but twice. And Gina, our director of statewide outreach, got pied. Somehow, Lisa Batchelder, our chief financial officer, did not get pied. It must be because she handles the money. So there you go. And we captured outstanding footage for you to watch of that pie in the face event. So Braden, I forgot the biggest detail. I'm happy to announce that we raised $23,594 this year, well above our goal of $20,000. So a big thank you to our committee members and the entire state agency who participated in our annual event. Like I said, it's a big part of our culture at the agency. We don't plan on we're planning on doing this for a long time. So thank you for your time. Braden, if you're ready, let's take a look at what we did this year. those guys are pretty good at horseshoes as well.
Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough.
Some serious sorting here. Y'all must do it for a living. That was 2 cups. We saw 2 cups over here. Start over. 2 cups. 2 cups.
He got a little frustrated.
We're on the North Building.
Wow.
Those are the Ninja
That's crazy.
Warriors.
Well, I knew he would. That's what he don't quit me now. 110, get back there. We're going to do this one. We're going to think of the good stuff right here. We got 12 times. Get it to 65 times. Get it to 65. Get it to. We're going to win the one. 75. Get it to 275. You're thinking about it now. Get it to 275. I'm 50 down. 55 in the back. 75. 75. 75. Take it down. 85. You're all out over here. You're going to do 75. I put 75. Get it to $5. There you are, number 128. God bless you, and God bless America. God bless, thanks for having me. It's always fun. Good to see you up there.
By the way, the whipped cream, it turned out, ended up being very, very much expired. It was smelling. Had a good time with it, didn't she?
Pull the shield down.
There you go. As I said, we ended up raising $23,594. We raised about $3,800, I think, from the live auction, about $2,500 from the silent auction. We did headshots. One of our people is a good photographer, and we charged people $20 for headshots, and that raised, I think, about $1,800. So we had some great fundraising events, raised a lot of money for a good cause, had a lot of fun in the process. And another big part of our campaign, and the reason it's so successful, is that our retirees are very much involved in our United Way campaign. And everybody was a good sport. Senior leaders were a good sport. Appreciate everybody who participated this year. Like I said, we've been doing it for 40 years, and we're going to keep on doing it. Any questions? You bet.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move forward. I'll ask the guy that gets 2 pies in the face to come forward. Dr. Lockwood's going to talk a little bit about our state staff meeting.
Well, good morning. You're taught never to follow a student after they present, and then I also have to follow United Way, which is all fun. And you're going to hear about a meeting that I'm going to present about, so I'm sorry. But no, we do have our twice yearly meeting, state staff, which is where we pull all the staff from throughout the state into the agency. All 220 people attend the meeting. Great meeting again this year. Meeting will start with welcome by Director Haken. We then recognized our 16 new hires that who've been brought into the agency since June. We also recognized our 15 employees that have been promoted or transitioned to another position within the agency. We're quite proud of that fact. We then heard a presentation from Rachel Keith, the Oklahoma Teacher of the Year, who presented and visited with us as a state agency. We sometimes feel disconnected from the students that we impact, and she just wanted to remind us that while we may not be in the classroom, we still are educators, and we have an impact on people by whether that's helping them get their high school equivalency or truck driver training or whatever we do, and she brought some personal stories into that. So great presentation for staff. The director gave his yearly update on our goals and his continued vision for the agency. Employee Association, our Employee Association fed us a great lunch, had some fun activities after lunch. Then we got to some recognitions. We recognized 2 retirees. Kyle Johnson, who started in the agency in '93, is retiring. He has been in our print plant for several years and is leaving, retiring. H.L. Baird has been in the agency for 30 years, and he is retiring January the 2nd or 3rd, right after the first of the year. H.L. started in the Skills Center division as an instructor, moved as T&I program specialist, and is retiring as work-based learning manager, and so has done a great job. The final event of the day was to award the agency awards. We've pruned that down, and we give 3 awards now. One is for Spotlight Award, and these awards are nominated by employees, and they're judged by an employee committee. No senior leadership. It's not us picking our favorites. It's their peers are judging them and picking them. And Brian Richter, who does a great job, he is the one who designs the things in front of you. He's a graphics artist in the Communications Marketing Creative Service Division, makes Russell look very good. He actually makes us all look very good. He won the Spotlight Award this year. Brandy Elliott, who is in the Information Management Division, Data, received the Rising Star Award. She's been with us a short time, and we were able to steal her from a tech center, so she has that knowledge of what it's like to put data in at the tech center and bring her to the agency. Has done a great job. She was instrumental in helping stand up and get data collected on our new work-based learning model and has played a huge role in that, so she received the Rising Star Award. And finally, the Team Award was given to the BMITE division. They've been down and had some openings this year, and that team has pulled together and continued to meet the needs of their students and continue to do a great job, and they received the Team Award. So very great, very good day. We're very happy of all of our employees. It's a great event. We're trying to work. We're pressuring Russell to work to get that day to coincide with the United Way silent auction so that we are, live auction. Our skill centers students build a lot of the items that you see that are sold, but yet our instructors who are housed throughout the state obviously don't get to come to the live auction, and we would like for them to be able to be at the live auction and see their students' work sold and be a part of this event. So we're trying to coincide that somehow. So anyway, any questions about the state staff meeting?
What are the 3 awards? What do they get? A trophy?
A trophy and a pat on the
$500
back.
bonus?
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights, yep.
Yep. And it used to be a much larger pool. It used to be we may give 4 or 5 spotlights, and you know, the employees decided they wanted to prune it down and they wanted 1. And so it's fierce competition. To pick 1 out of 220 people to receive an award is pretty huge thing. So, thank you.
Thanks, Justin. On 3.02. Yep.
Okay, next, we have an update on administrative rulemaking process. Ms. Gina Hubbard.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you guys. Before I get started, I want to make a comment that some people didn't read the fine print of the pie in the face contest, because Carol Hall is now a permanent member of the Rules Committee. So she'll be helping me with this as we move forward. So, no, it was a great event. We had a lot of fun. You'll be happy to know that there are about 14 steps in our rulemaking process, and we are over halfway there. So that's a great thing. On November 8th, we filed our notice of rulemaking intent to the Office of Administrative Rules. On December 2nd, those were accepted and published in the State Register. So the next step for us was to create rule impact statements. So this allows the public to have awareness of the filings and the substantial societal and fiscal impacts that those rules have. So those have been filed, again, with the Office of Administrative Rules and made public, not only through the state website, but also on our website, which he will bring up in just a moment. They're also available outside of my office in printed copy. People can request those via email or phone. So they are very much public documents now, and these are basically the items we went over in October. We did a summary of those that you approved back at that board meeting. The next step is our public hearing, and that happens about 30 days after those notices are published in the Register. So on January 9th, we will have our public hearing at 1 o'clock at our state agency in the Alexander Conference Room. And that is a time when anybody can sign up and come in and have their time to speak about any rules that we are amending or adding. So again, that will happen January the 9th. After that date, then we will send final rules to you, this board, for you to review and have possible discussion and approval on our January 16th meeting. So you might want to bring a snack, because that's when we go through them in a little bit more detail. So it'll take a little bit longer, but they're really pretty cut and dry, and a lot of it is cleanup, and so we've already been through the majority of it. So you'll just be made aware of any changes between now and then. And then after that, after you adopt, within 10 days, it goes to our governor and our legislative body and all the other entities, and we will wait for approval through the legislative process. So that's kind of where we are. So can you pull up that website for me right quick? I do want you to see where it is on our website and what it looks like. We try to make it, it's right under our About heading there on the top, and you can see all of the chapter. Yeah, you're there. Thank you so much. You can see each chapter's rules, so if you click on those, you'll see what the amendments are. The rule impact statements are just below that. Scroll down for me, please. And then we also have our comment period posted, so people know what that time frame is. And then below that, we give all the details about the public hearing. So that's where you find the information online. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
How well attended is the January meeting usually? Like nobody?
In my time, I've not had anyone show up.
Wow.
But it's my second year, so. But prior to that, I don't think we've had anyone.
We try to do, and Gina does a great job of making sure that if people have concerns or want something heard, they get that heard even prior to the hearing, and that we work with them. The rules process is, led and guided by us, but it should be collective from the field as well as what works and what does not work. So hopefully the hearing would be for those that really haven't been heard already. So we try to make sure that they have an opportunity to be heard before we get to a hearing in the process of building the rule in the first place.
Yeah. We do have a comment period right now running, so anybody who does have concerns can make a comment and send it to Gina.
Yep.
That's running until January 9th. Yes, January.
And as you did last year, you said in the January board meeting, that's where you'll give us the feedback of, hey, here's comments we heard, maybe we made these changes, maybe we didn't. That's kind of what that board meeting would look like, right?
Yes,
And again,
exactly right.
That's where we'll bring it for your final approval.
Perfect. And you guys did a great job last year of walking us through the reason for the rules, if there was any comments on the rules. So do appreciate y'all's work on this to get that all in front of us.
You're welcome. Awesome. You guys have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Session. Okay. Next on the agenda, we've got a proposed executive session for the annual performance review, employment, and compensation for the state director. Is there any discussion or any motion?
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion, a second. Do we have any further discussion?
I would ask that you retain Angela and the attorney. I mean, that's your decision, but I would think that it'd be well advised for Angela to take minutes for you and for the attorney to be present during that time.
Anybody have any issues with
I will leave evaluation rubrics for you at your discretion, the ones that we used last time, in supplemental materials, anything that you might need.
And of course, we can pull director into the executive session anytime. So.
We don't have a vote yet to go into executive session, but I do want you to hear the statute.
Oh, I'm sorry, you told me that earlier. This is in accordance with a state statute. We've got 25 Oklahoma Statute 2021 37B1.
Oh, 307. 307B1.
307B1.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So we good with the motion in the second?
Well, we.
What do we need?
I'll agree to amend my motion to include that.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second.
Any further discussion? Okay, thank you. Can we go ahead and have a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Archer?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Ms. Hanning?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Okay, we will enter into executive session.
Yes.
Ms. Wesson? Yes. Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. I'm unaware of any new business, Counselor Director? Yes, sir. Okay. That means next item is adjournment. We have any motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Mind calling roll for us one last time?
Ms. Wesson?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Hillary?
Yes.
Ms. Hanning?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Mr. Dillingham?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Archer? Yes. Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending. Full house.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh my gosh. He won't remember this one. But she will. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes, we're gonna.
I represent the board, so happy to help.
We still got that 9-year-old thing. Yeah.